show, and we're live at C2E2 right here. And my guest today is very special, Adam Fotos. Thank you.
Thanks for having me on.
Yeah. What got you involved in comics in the first place?
Well, I started doing comics about 11 years ago, and I was working with my comic strip, Dragon and Goat, and it was a university paper comic that came out every day, so 5 days a week. I did that for about 6 years, and then after working on the daily strip, I decided to get more into bookmaking and the full-page comics.
Full page, okay. And what university were you doing this for?
So I started at University of Tennessee down in Knoxville. That's about close to the area where I'm from. And then I took it over with me when I went to teach English in China. So I was teaching over there for a year and printing it with a Chinese newspaper.
Okay. And how did that work?
It was interesting. The character Dragon, trying to sell him in China was pretty interesting because he really doesn't look like a traditional dragon.
Okay.
And when I took it to the editor of the newspaper, she was like, well, goat, he looks like a goat, but dragon, he does not look like a dragon. So I had to say, well, he's an American dragon.
Okay.
He's a dinosaur.
Okay.
She was fun.
Fine with that. Okay. So now, was the transition to strip to a full page hard for you?
It was to some extent, but as I was sort of transitioning, I was already thinking of making the strips so that they could be in the book form as full page. So gradually, like sort of the last year, I was already thinking of them as 4-panel full page comics.
Okay.
And so then after that, I just sort of started thinking about, well, have more panels, more sort of changes to make it more dynamic, and let go of that early, like the daily comic strip, because that was kind of constricting, and so now it's nice to have the full page.
Oh, really? Really? Because I find that interesting because last year I interviewed the guy who does the strip for Dick Tracy.
Yeah.
And for him and his crew, they like the fact of only having so much space.
Right.
This is for me. So for me to hear this, it's kind of like, okay, kind of interesting. So now what do you do now?
So now I'm working mostly on the full page comics on my own, but while I'm making my comics, I also teach.
Okay.
So I'm teaching at Chicago State University and also at College of DuPage as adjunct.
Okay. Yeah. And so, are you teaching art with them?
Absolutely. Yeah, I teach painting, watercolor, and drawing, and Photoshop and Illustrator at Chicago State.
Okay. Cool.
And then at College of DuPage, I teach like drawing and also cartooning and comics.
Okay. Now, so from here, with your did you go to school to learn how to draw, or was it?
Well, I went to school actually for painting, and I just ended up doing the comics sort of on the side.
Okay.
And eventually that just sort of became, what I really enjoyed. I still do a lot of painting as well, so sort of juggling the fine art and the comics as well.
Now, and this is where I see a small chasm because in some circles they don't consider this to be art. So what is your opinion on that take?
Well, I think comics are definitely an art. It's I also like to think of it as a language. It's a language of pictures and words that you can use, for many, many different purposes. It can be for entertainment, or it can get people to think about things that they haven't thought about before,
right.
Which is exactly what art can do as well.
Right.
And so I think there's plenty of room for fine art, painting, and sculpture as well as comics too.
Yeah. Now, how do you feel about comics being a social revolution? Because a lot of movements throughout history have started because of some kind of image or something.
Absolutely. I think comics are really important because they are a people's art, and that they are often more accessible than sometimes the languages that we see used in painting or fine art in like contemporary art worlds. That there's sometimes barriers of people getting into these museums or galleries, but comics are there. They're on the shelves. They're easy to get, and they're really easy to get into from kids to adults.
Yeah, that's true. So for you, where can people find your art? Because in these days and times, unless you got a certain distributor tattooed to your backside, I ain't gonna mention any names. It's catch as catch can.
Right. Well, I sell my books a lot of times at Third Coast Comics in Edgewater, and then also Quimby's and Chicago Comics. Sometimes I put in books there. But you can always and so that's adamfotos.com, or you can go from a specific Dragon and Goat series to dragonandgoat.com.
Now, how do you now with that, how do you feel about webcomics?
Webcomics are great. I was doing a webcomic for a couple years. I ended up stopping it to work on my other projects, but yeah, webcomics are great, and I think again it's about accessibility. That if you let go of the printed page, that it becomes a lot easier to put your work out there for people.
True. And now, speaking of accessibility, which brings me to a very good question that it really should have the comic world buzz, and not to mention the FTC, because it's how do you feel about Amazon absorbing Comixology?
Well, I've got one of my books with Comixology, and I'm a little leery of it because, I'm not sure exactly like how Amazon is going to take care of its creators. I'm much more for a way of distributing digital comics that's more open, that gives creators more power and more accessibility, more access to the information that they're gathering from shoppers and things without making us buy into those.
Exactly, and it's funny you should mention that, because it's already my opinion that Comixology has already become the diamond for the big five.
Right.
And now Amazon was, at first, to me, that was actually more independent friendly. And now that they're absorbing Comixology, what happens to the independents?
Right.
It's already the big becoming bigger, and now all of a sudden we have one less avenue.
Exactly.
And that puts other shops like Drive Through Comics and others on the defensive. So because now all of a sudden, whereas they could be more open to accepting somebody, now all of a sudden, would you agree with this? Now that with all this going on, it would be more restrictive.
Yeah, I think that's what happens when any industry is taken over by one large corporation that has so much control over content. And as creators, the content is what we're producing.
Right.
They shouldn't be milking us dry for the content that we're producing, that we're giving our lives for, when they're taking all the profits. So I think it's really important for independent comics artists to look for other avenues and other ways to distribute their work that they have more control over, and that they can see more of the profits of their labor.
And folks, this has been Adam Fotos. If you see his art, get to it. AdamFotos.com. Find him, look him up. And you were right there. You're in Chicago State, so you're right up the street from me. That's kind of like my old alma mater. So once again, Adam, thank you so much.
Thank you, Ron.
And you all keep on watching for Lip Service.
Thanks.
There's no correctness belong in comics. This is K.I.R.A, keeping it real always. This past Halloween, that wax-feet rabbit decided to open up and put goat feet in his mouth. The situation being this: during the Halloween celebration, DC, Warner Brothers, which is actually the parent company of DC, decided to spit out a woman's T-shirt that alluded to basically in training to be Batman's wife. This shirt sold online and at retail stores came back with a backlash from women saying this shirt was sexist. The main complaint was, why does it have a woman training to be Batman's wife? Why couldn't it have been training to be Catwoman or Batgirl or Batwoman? Obviously the uproar made Twitter and media headlines, with the major news groups picking up on the story and going straight to DC for commentary. And of course, DC and parent company Warner Brothers, of course, made their canned programmed response. Now, while I agree that the shirt does put into a particular stereotype of women trying to be being in a subservient role. However, key points that kind of, where I have to kind of agree to disagree. One, nobody those women who found the shirt offensive, nobody was pointing a gun to their head to buy the shirt. Okay? There was nobody forcing them to wear it, buy it, or even pay attention to it. Two, the culture of the comic world has been primarily dominated by men, in which case over the past near 3/4 of a century, women have been depicted in unproportional dimensions, which now has the cute term and the modern term of body shaming. So my other point is, while these women have sat up here and made a fuss over this shirt, I consider it a opportunity for a bunch of people to get 15 seconds of fame through the internet using Twitter and blowing up and causing a stink, thus stroking their own egos and so that way they can say, I'm part of a movement. Okay, so if you are such part of the movement, where were you the last 75 years, and where it was your furor over the last couple of years, where women have been depicted uncharacteristically to be sex symbols and all that. Okay, so where have you been? All of a sudden now you just want to jump on this bandwagon because given the current state of circumstances and with the headlines going on with NFL and the domestic abuse and so on and so forth, it seemed like a very easy target, and of course it was, thus any little kind of uproar towards something like that made it very plain and obvious to where it was a simple target, and the media would jump on it and these people get their 15 seconds of fame. Okay? So you're just Johnny come lately. That's all I'm saying. If you were true to it, you should have been crying a long time ago. Okay? And so from here, I really ask the question, okay, legal correctness belong in, does such a thing exist in comics? Well, honestly, yes and no. While there has been some strife in diversity, that same diversity has been met with backlash. Okay, to where people have said, why are you taking away my character, my identity? And to that aspect, I have to say, your identity lies within you. If you have to rely on some symbol outside of your own to identify with and so that you can validate your own existence, then you're a follower and not a leader. There's always going to be examples, but if you have to rely on something outside, made by somebody else to where you have to identify, something's wrong. Your self-worth, your self-identity lies within you, by your deed and by your actions. Plain and simple. And lastly, while I wrap this up, it kind of makes me also want, with these protesters, what kind of protest would there have been if, first off, the shirt in question would have been made for men with the title "Studying to Become Batman's Wife," or if the shirt stayed for women and the shirt had the caption "Studying to Become Batwoman's Wife." I wonder how much of a furor would there be after that. Something to think about. I'm Stash Jenkins, and this has been K.I.R.A.
Is Stats Jenkins of Lip Service, and it's book review time. Our book today is from Starcross Studios, GOD, Global Order Decree. 24 pages, full color, art and story by Joe Spicer. And the first 3 pages are designed by a K.I.R.A. Upon opening this book, one of the first things you notice is the deep religious overtones. Now, when I first opened this book, I thought, okay, this is going to be a book trying to preach converting souls and you should go save yourself and all that kind of stuff. But no, the first 3 pages are a setup and beautifully done as a ancient scripture, and it pretty much sets up for the main premise of the story. Okay, and from here, what happens is it is Joe Spicer's take on the good forces of God dealing with Satan running roughshod over the earth and so on and so forth. Now, the odd part about it is the main character, whose name is Starstruck, you really don't, unless you're paying attention to it, you don't know the character's name until the fifth or sixth page. And even with that, if you're not really paying attention, you totally overlook it. And the other thing that uh, is interesting with this book is the use of color. Um, the coloring in this book is beautifully done, I must say, and realistically, only a few colors in this throughout this book are being used. So the colorist, which I'm also assuming is Joe Spicer, he masterfully and skillfully uses the colors and effects to his advantage, which gives the book a look and feel all its own. Now, the art style of this particular book uh, kind of reminds me, I'm not saying it is exactly, but it reminded me of the Batman Beyond. Okay, so from here, the art is comparable. I mean, it's for me, it's great. Um, the scene layout for each panel is beautifully done. Like I said, and the one thing that I liked about this book, and even my wife complimented on, was the use once again, it's the use of color, monochrome, use of shades and tones. Okay, and so basically, what this story is about is Starstruck. I'm assuming is being captured and being reprogrammed over to be a minion of Satan, or in this case, Lord Lord Horn's orders, which I'm assuming is Joe Spicer's name for the great beast. Okay, that is supposed to take over the earth and is supposed to have dominion of the earth for 42 months until God's forces, until Jesus comes down and destroys all the evil. So, but also the other thing within this plot here the i- is the I can't say it's hidden, but it shows the intent and willingness of humans to just to actually go along with all this. Okay, so submitting themselves to become part of the global order decrees, armies, and even some of them, like in the first villain you come across is Pan, who actually and willingly submitted himself to demonic possession, not with just one demon, but two. Okay. Now, the other thing I can truly say is, if you are a person who doesn't like a lot of blood spatters and you're squeamish about some gore, this book may not exactly be what you're looking for, but I can truly say that with the way Joe Spicer has done it, it is done in good taste. and it is not to where it's an automatic shock factor. So, with that being said, this book, I would say greatly, it is a must. Is I would say it is a must read. If you don't get it right off the top, I suggest you put it on your to review to relook or to re-review, because I honestly believe that this particular book is it's a sleeper. You may not get it right off the top, but for me, I would like to see more from him regarding global order decree, and hopefully, if I reach out to him pretty soon, he will be a guest on Lip Service, so he can talk about more about not just global order decree, but about his other book called Origins, which is a biblical source book. Okay, so Joe Spicer has found a way to uh, be religious, but also to be entertaining. Um, Now, the one thing that may shy off of a few people, this is the number one. It's just $5. Now, um, I can't say to any certainty that this would be a scare off, seeing how Marvel has uh, been selling, and DC been selling some of their books for $4.99 and up. Okay, and these back when I was back several years ago, when independents did this, it hurt them, but they were only trying to cover and still are trying to cover costs of printing. Okay, now great, thankfully there's been public printers out there who are like Rink, um, and our printer, one of our printers, Rink, South Island, Gorilla Press. There's several out there who are actually who are getting into this, and with their print order demand, keeping the minimums low, and making the of cost of printing very affordable. Also, a lot of the digital places now have a printing arm, so if people like what they see digitally, they can get a print copy, or it or if you just want to get the copy and you like from the previews, you can just order straight through. Cellflux, uh, sorry, Cellflux with Everard McBlain, they strictly go through drive through for that. So, once again, this is from Starcross Studios, Global Order Decree. I suggest, if you're looking for something new, and you want something with a different feel, religion, I call it like this: Armageddon meets sci-fi. And I suggest you pick this book up and get into it, and check out a few other things that Starcross Studios presents. Now, if you know of a book that I should review, or if you're a publisher and you would love your book reviewed, uh, drop us a line. Lip service at kissmecomics.com, and we will follow up and read it. We do prefer a digital copy because, well, don't get me wrong, I still love the old-fashioned way of a print, but that adds up to a lot of paper, and I don't want to create a fire hazard, and tend to we don't have a whole lot of room in the house anymore. So right off the top, we prefer digital. Okay, and so hopefully the next go around I'll have another book review. So until next time, this is Stash Jenkins with a book review.